Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us here. Thursday, September 12th, Jocks 94.5. Lots to get to today. Start to preview some of the games coming up this weekend. Get the temperature of some things down in Auburn right now. Where are you on the quarterback situation, some of the comments coming out of Auburn the last couple of days? Because, Greg, I think some people are either just a little bit confused, a little bit concerned about some of the things that Coach Freeze and some of the things that we're hearing down from Auburn in reference to the quarterback situation, also in reference to just how the offense will be handled this weekend. I want to start with that one, and just that some of the comments coming out that the plan this weekend not going to be very big, not going to be extensive, going to be cut back. I'm just interested in where you are with that, understanding the opponent. This opponent has given up essentially 1,300 yards in 2 games, by the way. Do you like that? Do you feel like that's the way to go? Do you really want to scale back right now and not run other things that you may need, specifically the next couple of weeks?
Well, it's all a matter of perspective. One, do you feel like having a deep arsenal of offensive concepts, is that slowing down your process? Is that muddying the water of your young players at wide receiver and your quarterback? Because based on the tape that I watched, you watched the same, I didn't get the sense that they ran some deep arsenal of offense on Saturday afternoon last week. His offense ain't that challenging. It's not like, it's NFL style at its core, tons of shifts, tons of motions. It's not like that's what they are. Like, they just didn't play with great effort. I mean, to me, it wasn't a lack of focus or having too much on their plate. It was just poor effort and, frankly, poor execution. So if he feels like it's going to allow them to execute better and maybe give more effort without being bogged down mentally, then by all means, do what you got to do. But based on the tape I watched, I didn't feel like they were overloaded.
I didn't either. And so I guess where my head goes is that if you're going to scale back and the package is not going to be big, you're only limiting some of the things that you're probably going to need moving forward. And obviously, based on the way it's gone so far, you need reps. Now, we've talked a lot about the quarterback situation and kind of what it is. Maybe not as much blame as a lot of other people want to put on it. We said that on the show the last couple of days. We don't need to go any further really into that. But Freeze does say that he's Thorne's biggest fan because he's chosen to believe in him. Some of that may have to do with what's next and lack of confidence there. Some of that may be just wanting to be right. I mean, let's be honest. We all want to be right, don't we? So you play somebody else, you're almost admitting that you're wrong. How much of that can get in the way of a decision like this? Is that real?
Well, like we said for the last 3 days, I watched the interceptions. I did not think that all of them were on Peyton Thorne. I also don't think he was exclusively the problem with the offense last week. I would like for him to maybe address the short leash that the left tackle should be on, or the short leash that the wide receiver should be on if they don't finish their routes. I don't hear anyone else getting called out. Why is the quarterback the one that has to shoulder all the blame? Not saying it's not necessary. I get it, but I mean, he's not out there by himself, I don't think. So I watched it. I mean, I feel like we're pretty credible as it pertains to that, and maybe just knows, hey, this is, I mean, the fan base is making Peyton Thorne the scapegoat. So maybe it's just better for us to just, hey, Peyton, you got to shoulder this one. You made bad decisions, and we got to move on. But need you to play better, bud. Like, I hope that the conversations behind closed doors are not being had out in the open, because I don't think that's good for anybody.
All right, this quote coming from Justin Hokanson, who covers the Auburn Tigers. Coach Freeze saying, it's really hard not to play a young man, whether it's Peyton or whoever, that consistently is the best performer in practice over and over and over again. However, you have to carry that over into games. And that's one of the things that we've talked about, Greg, is that we don't see practice. We don't know what's happening there, but obviously he has been the best option in practice. Freeze has also alluded to the fact, not just this week, but in other weeks, that he does do well in practice. There's things he performs in practice and then doesn't happen in games. I imagine that's frustrating and that's tough, but how do you begin to balance that as to you're getting it done here in a controlled environment, controlled setting that we essentially are setting up for you. But when everything's cut loose, it's not happening.
Well, all those things are real, but here's what I would say. I mean, I watched the tape from last year too, and I watched the tape from the Cal game. He made throws in the Cal game there's no chance on earth he's making last year. I mean, more velocity, more accuracy, starting with the first third down, going all the way down to the double move stutter go on the left side. That was a big play down the left side early. A couple throws across the middle that he would not have tried last year. He's getting the ball out faster than he was last year. I mean, statistically speaking, the ball's getting out much faster than it was last year, far more decisive. So I think there's been progress made. Like, there's a lot of bad throws that aren't interceptions. Like, to qualify bad throws as interceptions exclusively, I think that's a misleading stat. Not all interceptions are created equal. Some are horrible decisions. Some are terribly executed, inaccurate throws. And some are circumstantial. Your receiver cuts his route short. The receiver doesn't come breaking in. The receiver thinks it's zone, sits it up. You think it's man, you throw it out in front, it's intercepted. Like, there are circumstantial interceptions, and I feel like there's been a few that he's had this year.
Some also great plays by a defender.
Some are great plays by a defender. Like Cade Klubnik's interception against Malachi Starks in week 1. I'm sorry, I'm not. To me, that's a minus. Yeah, sure. If I'm grading it, it's a minus, but like, I'm not putting 5 minuses in there. Like, when I threw one interception against Duke in 2010, Jim McElroy said, "How many minuses can you fit in that little square of yours?" I said, "I don't know, coach." He goes, "I want you to fill it up and tell me how many." Because you have to sit there and write your grade. All right, that's a plus. That's a plus. That's a plus. That's a plus. That's a minus. That's a minus. That's a plus. Oh my gosh. Greg, interception. You're late over the middle against a Duke defender that is beat by 7 yards. How many minuses can you fit in that square? Fill it up and tell me how many there are. So, like, yeah, that was a bad interception. Really, really bad interception. And then there's another interception, like against Virginia Tech in 2009, where I'm literally getting hit by 3 different defensive linemen as I'm trying to throw the ball away, and the ball pops straight up in the air and gets intercepted. Same thing against South Carolina. I'm trying to throw the ball away, ball gets popped up in the air, gets intercepted by a corner. Like, those interceptions, he's like, "Hey, that's a tough break. Move on." You know what I mean? So
it happens, yeah.
And I think that's where we're at with Peyton Thorne. Like, I thought 3 of the interceptions were not on him last week. The one at the end of the game, yes, that one's on him. But it's also on the situation too. So I'm certainly not making excuses for him. He's got to play better. But I think if you look at last year and where he's at now compared to where he was last year, I think there's been progress made, even though people don't want to acknowledge it.
What about comments coming out of maybe a short leash going into this game? Is that something that needs to be said that you would say? As a quarterback, how would you handle that if you heard your coach publicly say that you are now on a short leash?
Was he referring to his quarterback, though, or is he referring to his offense? He goes, because he's like, we're on a very short leash if we have play like that at that position. Meaning, like, the team has a very, very short, has a low ceiling if they get play like that at that position.
Quote,
I didn't know.
After watching the film, there's a very short leash on us playing as poorly as we did in certain moments in that game at that position.
Yeah, there's a short leash on us.
But he also says at that position.
Yes, if we play as poorly as we did at that position.
I know the quarterbacks always get a ton of criticism, and it's not always exactly them, but there are plays that we had that Thorne, expected to make, that we expected to make, that he didn't make in that game in critical moments. So he's got to produce for sure. So it's a little, I see that's context, I guess, a bit. To me, he says at that position. So therefore I would take that as, if that's me and I had 4 bad snaps in the game and during the week, he says, we got a short leash on us playing as poorly as we did in certain moments in the game at that position, I think that the next center's a lot closer to being up than he was the week before.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. I would also
because it felt, Greg, in the beginning of the week. Sorry to interrupt you. It felt in the beginning of the week that Coach Freeze was almost going to kind of go a little bit further, trying to protect him and defend him. And now towards the end of the week, it feels like that's sort of shifting a little bit.
Well, when I hear the term leash, I think that relates to one specific player. But the way he said it,
they do make those new like leashes now that have like the
multiple
12 different prongs.
Yeah.
Multi-leash.
For the professional dog walkers.
Multi-leashes. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that the leash, the way I hear it is like we have a short leash as a team. Like we are not very good as a team if our quarterback doesn't play well.
Right.
I don't think the backup's going in. Just telling you, I don't think that's happening.
Okay.
But if they put him in, I mean, to me, that's a panic move. Complete panic move. And you're falling victim to the court of public opinion, which to me is not something that I think is a good practice by any coach. Doesn't matter. What the fans think does not matter. I know that sounds harsh, and I know you spend your hard-earned money. I get that. I understand that, but like he has an obligation to the players on the team, and that's for the most part it. And I think that he's got to put them in the best position to try to be successful. And if the guy that's in practice playing the best is the guy that's been starting for the last 2 years, then that's the guy you got to go with.
800-239-9569. 800-239-WJOX if you want to get in. Have sort of this conversation with us about where Auburn is right now. More importantly than what you think should happen with quarterback, just kind of some of the verbiage that's coming out of Auburn. How does it make you feel about the team? How does it make you feel about the quarterback situation? You can also text in 205-834-9450, 205-834-9450. At Mac and Cube, you can always tweet into the show, be a part of it there. Up on YouTube, you can watch us live, search Jocks945, listen online, JocksFM.com. What would it have to take, in your opinion, to make that move?
I mean, he'd have to play awful. And the other guy would have to show that you think he's good enough.
And that's the part we don't know. That's the part that we have no idea what it looks like, what it's been like. I mean, we've heard things, you and I both, but we don't know.
No, you don't know. I mean, you hear about Tua Tagovailoa and what Tua Tagovailoa did in practice, tearing up that defense all year long. And there's like a lot of buzz about it. And I got news for you. I hadn't heard any buzz like that coming out of Auburn about what the backups are doing right now. Just so we have some context here. Auburn fans wanted more big plays, right? I think that was a big point of emphasis.
I think being a little more explosive was probably on the wish list, yes.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he's averaging 10.15 yards an attempt.
Nobody cares about that. Greg has his numbers.
Last year is 6.6. So he's 4 up on that.
He might as well be PFF for all week here.
His air yards per attempt, how far the ball is traveling downfield, 13.5. Last year was 8.5.
Yeah, but these are just numbers.
Okay.
I don't.
His
watch the game.
His sack percentages are down. 9.2% last year, down to 5.3%.
9.2%
of his
so
dropbacks.
One of every 10 drops he was sacked last year.
Yeah.
Golly.
When he didn't escape. Yeah. So 9.2 last year, down to 5.3. He's getting the ball out. He's facing increased pressure this year, by the way.
Well, I just read the quotes. We know that. We can tell that.
Well, increased pressure by like how many people are in his face. Pressure numbers are up. And sack numbers are down.
Okay.
You know what that means? Quarterback's getting the ball out.
You're just defending quarterbacks now.
That's, because honestly,
now
I made a loyal oth to Peyton Thorne at Media Days. I said, I'm just going to defend you come hell or high water.
We know you guys stick together.
20+%. Excuse me. More than 27% of his throws are traveling 20+ yards downfield. That's up. Last year is 16%. And his adjusted completion percentage this year is 76%. Last year is 66%.
I feel like you're adjusting it to fit your narrative.
You can read every one of these stats. I just went right in consecutive stats right down the list. Like,
All right,
there's no narrative.
I want to hear what the people think and what the people want here. Cole is in Winfield, home of Bart Heiss. Welcome into the show, Cole.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Great.
What's
How
up,
are you?
Good. War Eagle, Cole.
War
and
Eagle.
I guess I can say roll tide for Greg. It's
You're not
hard.
supposed to, but it's okay.
Well said.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I'm sorry. I want to ask Greg, I know he said that if you trade quarterbacks or, put in your backup, that's, bowing to the court of public opinion. What about when Nick Saban did it with Tua, when Jalen Hurts was playing bad in national championship?
I'm going to interrupt here.
That?
Cole, I'm going to interrupt because I made this, and I know you probably weren't tuned in. I'm not necessarily directing this at you, but I made it very clear on Monday when this came up. Do not make comparison of first-round quarterback who has already proven to be elite in NFL coming in for other guy, because that guy not on Auburn roster right now, not there, not even close. So
and here's the other difference too. So while I agree, if you want to make comparisons, this is week 3. That was the second half of the national championship. Did he pull the plug when Jalen Hurts was wet in the bed in week 6, 7, and 8? No. Did he pull it after he played terrible against Auburn? No. Did he pull him at any point when he was playing bad against Clemson in the semifinal? No. Like, you're going to look at the stats. You say, oh, he didn't play bad in those games. Watch it. Look how many wide open guys were on the field and Jalen didn't cut it loose. Jalen was scared to make a mistake that year. He wouldn't cut it loose. I mean, he was very, very gun shy. So here's the difference. It's week 3. That was, hey, this is a press glass in case of emergency situation where we are at halftime of the national championship. We have nothing to lose here. Like, we have nothing to lose. Like, we put 2 in, we're down by 15, 14, whatever the score was. We put 2 in, we lose by 40. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. You lose by 40, you lose by 4. You still lose the national championship. The result's the same. You put the freshman in right now, you run the risk of losing the locker room. You put the freshman in right now, you run the risk of ruining the freshman. You put the freshman in right now, you run the risk of going 3-9. Potentially. I mean, there's no telling. All those things are possible here.
Here's the other part of it, Greg, and this is what's different even from when Saban had to deal with Tua. First off, if he was going to deal with hurt feelings, it was going to be into the offseason. That's totally different. Now, think about from a depth perspective, just a body perspective, guys can just leave. Literally today, just walk. Can they not? Have we not seen it?
They technically can't enter the portal, but they can say, I'm not playing.
They're not going to lose their scholarship check. I know that. Guys can quit the team and stay on scholarship. That's where we are now. So those are all I'm saying is those are other things that have to be taken into account. William in Tuscaloosa. Welcome into the show, William.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So I'm going to kind of run off of what the last fella said there. I don't think we have to go back to Tua. I think we can go back to last year, USF, Jalen Milroe getting benched. And I don't know if that was so much because Saban wanted to bench him more than it felt to me as a fan. It was like, shut up. I know what I'm doing. Now you guys get Tyler Buckner.
No, I think if you want to go back
and
to
now
last
you guys
year,
get, by the way, is awesome.
Zip it. I know what I'm doing. No, here's the thing. I think last year's staff knew that, well, when they went out and they got Tyler Buckner in the portal, I think promises were made. I think say, hey, you're going to have a chance. All right. That's all I can promise you is a chance. I cannot promise you a starting job. I cannot promise you a certain amount of reps. I can't promise you that I'm going to get you the NFL, but I can promise you that you will have a chance to prove what you can do. And there really wasn't an opportunity to do that, knowing that Texas was week 2 on the schedule. There just wasn't. So you had to look at, after Jalen didn't play well against Texas, said now is the opportunity. Hey, this is your chance. Go show us what you can do. Ty, show us what you can do. Ty played better than Buckner, but it still wasn't good enough to do anything to jump in front of Jalen. So at that point forward, they evaluated it through 3 games, and then you move forward. That's
so you don't see that happening you don't see that happening at Auburn at all. You don't even see a chance of it.
Well, there was also a portion, I don't know how far Greg wants to go into it, but William, I know what happened and I know the situation. Like there was Jalen had a lot to do with that also, and not performance-based. So there were other things that were there was more to that needed to take place from a behavioral standpoint, leadership standpoint, things of that nature.
Maturity standpoint, there's always more to the story.
So it wasn't just you missed this throw or you didn't get this read or you dropped this snap. There was a lot more to that, and I don't think any of those things are involved in the current Auburn situation. So I do think that you have some accuracies with where you're going, but I think there's also a lot more to the comparative story of Jalen in South Florida last year that might not be applicable to this one. Tua was the number 5 overall pick, guys. 5. 4 players in 1 year were taken ahead of him in the NFL draft.
Off of a dislocated hip. There's legit, he was red flag medical and still taking number 5.
Your HVAC system is one of your largest investments this time of year, constantly being pushed to the extreme. You can trust a Trane home comfort system to give you reliability and peace of mind day in, day out for years to come. Visit Trane.com to find a home comfort specialist near you. Remember, it's hard to stop a Trane. Maurice, John, see you on hold. If you want to get in on the other side, you can do that. We'll keep the phones open to continue having this conversation about the Auburn quarterback situation, about the Auburn offense in general, really, is what it should be. Next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Talking Auburn offense, which does include the quarterback. If you want to get in, 800-239-9569. 800-239-WJOX. Tell you about my friends at Royal Automotive. You guys have heard me talk about Royal, whether it's a used car that you want to go and get rid of, whether it is looking for a new deal on a new ride, because Royal, they want to get you tailgate ready. Only place to find over 19 unique truck and SUV options in one spot. Right now, get up to $14,000 off select 2024 GMC Sierra models. 0% for 60 months is back on 2024 Volkswagen Tiguan models. 0.99% financing on select Volvo XC40, XC60, XC90 models. Go see my friends at Royal. They're going to help you get the best deal available. All offers valid through September 30th. Certain restrictions apply. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 in Vestavia. Online, royalautomotive.net. Make Royal your first and last stop when car shopping. So we've opened up the phones to get feedback on the Auburn offense and the situation there. Maurice held through the break, so we will get him on the Buyers Right hotline now. Maurice, what's on your mind?
Well, my thinking is that you shouldn't listen to the fans in making the decision about who the quarterback ought to be. But on the other hand, I think that the coaches are playing patsy cake with the quarterbacks when they don't let them get tackled in practice, so that it's impossible for them to know how they're going to perform under pressure.
So
if you look at Thor for 2 years now, or a year and the game so far, when the pressure came, he folds. When Hank Brown played the little bit that he got to play with very little experience, he never folded in those situations. He hit the long passes, and he threw to the right ones. I just think that Freeze has got a blind spot, and I wish that they would go back to scrimmaging live where you could find out in practice who was going to perform the best.
Kill them all. Let the paramedics
I can get on board with that. I mean, you won't have. I'm a little bit of a meat-headed quarterback, though, so I understand where you're coming from, and I think it'd actually do everyone a world of good if we actually went back to live scrimmage reps. But
hey, you give us a lot more to talk about.
What do I know?
A lot less availability for starting quarterbacks.
Hank Brown was pressured on one drop back against
Dylan Raiola, broken collarbone in practice.
Yeah.
Whoops.
He was pressured on one drop back by my count when I was watching the game. Last week? What
was the score? 31-6. Defenses handle you a little bit different when they're up 4 touchdowns.
I think it's a little
more. I
hate
hate
to
tell
that.
people that.
I think it's
Sorry.
I think it's
you bring in the house when you're up 5 scores. Come on.
A little more than that. For the record, I mean, I didn't think Peyton Thorne really faced any pressure hardly in week 1.
Here's my question, Greg, and it's not necessarily for you. Maybe Damian can answer this because he's sort of in the boat of a lot of these other people that just say it's over and it's done. Can Peyton Thorne win you back? I'm dead serious when I say that. Because it feels like some of the callers we've had this morning, some of the people tweeting into the show right now, it's just over. It's it. So if you're in that spot, why not just say, hey, I'm in that spot. He ain't it. So until they move on, I'm over it. Right? There's no point in having discussions about Tua or Cody Burns coming in or Sean White coming in or Brandon Cox getting benched or Ben Leard getting benched for Gabe Gross.
Or
Like
TJ
none of those
Finley.
conversations
what about
matter.
TJ Finley over Bo Nix? Remember we went after the Georgia State. I remember that.
I'm not sure as many people were clamoring for that one.
Oh yeah, they were.
But I can also tell you
they were.
I can also tell you that was one that was going to happen at some point in time that year, no matter what.
Well, I can just tell you, I remember that week being like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" Bo Nix has played 1 million games. TJ Finley has looked average as the day is long. Yes, he won the Georgia State game, phenomenal. But other than that, come on.
Look who was in charge of it.
I also just
look who was in charge of it, Greg. Do you think he cares at all? You think Mike Bobo gives one single rip what anybody says about him?
No.
Okay.
If I may, remind me again how bad Colorado's offensive line is.
They're
the worst.
Bad.
Like, that's well documented, right?
Absolutely.
Like, everybody knows that, right?
Yes.
I would go ahead and put them at the worst, but I've got Kent State against Tennessee this weekend. So that's on hold.
TBD.
Still up for debate.
All right. Well, just for the record, I just want to make sure everybody understands this. Shedeur Sanders last week, so we're on the same page. Shedeur Sanders last week was pressured on 48% of his dropbacks.
Holy mother.
That's a lot.
So you have a national, like, next closest to that?
I do, actually. Peyton Thorne pressured on 47% of his dropbacks.
No.
Are you serious?
Is that number 2 in the nation?
No.
I was about to say.
But that's number 2 in the Power 5 last week.
Okay, so that's not for the year. This is for last week.
No, it's just last
but I'm
week.
just asking. No,
Just last week. I mean, if you want to take Western Michigan, who played, I think, Ohio State last week, yes. Hayden Wolf, RIP, 72.2% of his dropbacks resulted in pressure. But that's Western Michigan against Ohio State.
Yeah,
That's supposed to happen. I mean, we can live with that. But I just suggest we look a little bit beyond, the obvious, like, this guy let us down. We can't do it.
That's why I asked the question of, is there anything he can do? Like, what would he have to do this weekend or next weekend, or how far down the road is it that certain folks would just say, well, I'm good? Like, Don, can Peyton Thorne win you back? Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible, Kyle and Greg. Yes, it is. And hopefully he can start with winning us back Saturday against New Mexico, who has one of the worst defenses in the country. I believe they're giving up close to 600 yards a game, aren't they?
Well, pretty much 1,302 games. So you do the math on that one.
Yeah, well, that's 650, and I think the receiver for Arizona had about 350 receiving yards against them in game 2. But
I think it was three.
There is a but.
There's 304, 10 catches, 304, 3 touchdowns.
This was not that great.
Yeah, but Cole, I'd like to know your
He's no Cam Coleman.
opinion about. Well, Cam Coleman's not going to play Saturday. He's hurt, and more than likely Louis Thompson's going to play. But Cole, I need to know your opinion about how bad the offensive line played last Saturday.
Well, thank you, Don. I think Greg kind of spelled that out with the pressure rates that were taking place. But I will say that
you're 1 percentage point better.
That was not all on the offensive line.
No,
that was on some of the tight ends. That was on some of the backs at different points in times, and some on quarterback. But did not play well. There were multiple individual losses with that group last week that were pretty much unacceptable. And back to your point, Don, yes, the 134th ranked defense in all of college football belongs to New Mexico, allowing just under 600 yards per game at 597 yards per game allowed.
It's not that many when you take into account that it's only 2 games.
By the way, at 132, Georgia Southern, who is at Ole Miss next week.
Oh, boy.
Throwing that one out there.
Oh, boy.
At 133, Jacksonville State, 581 yards per game.
581?
If you're an Oklahoma fan, maybe that makes you feel pretty good about Zach Alley being there now. Just throw that. If looking for some silver lining. Here is an optimistic Auburn fan on Peyton Thorne. Welcome in, optimistic Auburn fan.
Hey, Cole, how you doing?
Great,
Greg, good morning.
Morning.
Cole, I talked to you at the kickoff party, and I told you with Hugh Freeze, it wasn't the Georgia and Alabama games. I knew that they would get up for those, but I told you it's the Arkansas and Vanderbilt games that I was more concerned about. Which proved to be true with Cal. Peyton Thorne aside, this is kind of what you get with Hugh Freeze. Not calling for his job or anything like that. However, I would like to ask you guys this. Will Peyton Thorne be able to win me back? No, because even next week, you expect him to go out and have a huge game if he plays the entire game. Yeah, he'll have a huge game. He'll fill up the stat, but going into SEC play, if the book is out on Peyton Thorne that you load up the box, you blitz him, and his eyes get big as saucers and he just, reverts to something that you haven't seen in practice from him, then honestly, how many games do we expect Auburn to win for the rest of the year?
It's a fair point, and I appreciate the call, optimistic Auburn fan. which actually did not feel like there was a ton of optimism there, but nonetheless.
When we take the call from optimistic Auburn fan, he says, to be honest with you, he can't win me back.
That's optimism in my mind. But hey, I understand. I didn't feel like the New Mexico State game was in a similar situation as the Cal game, because I think Cal deserves a little bit more credit than that. Although New Mexico State deserves a ton of credit too for what they did last year. But I thought Cal just played hard. And I do think
they played really hard.
Auburn wasn't as flat as they were against New Mexico State, and I felt like the plan was a little bit more thorough than it was against New Mexico State. So I do feel like that one was a little bit different. But you are right as far as some of those letdowns. I mean, historically, go back and look. I mean, it's been there almost every year. So we'll continue that conversation. You want to get into the show, 800-239-9569. We've got Jay Tate coming up, going to talk about this situation at 8 o'clock. Wimp's with us at 9. We'll also talk to Roddy Jones at 9:15. Big ACC SEC matchup this weekend that not a lot of folks are talking about. And we'll get Roddy's thoughts on that later this show. Top 3 coming up later this hour. That's all next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Text into the show, 205-834-9450. Appreciate you tuning in. Listen online, jocksfm.com, apps in your app store, iPhone, Android. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill, and you can always tune in that way. All right, before we move on with this conversation, Damian, text line has been open. What are folks saying there about this Auburn offense and the situation happening with quarterback.
Jason from Huntsville, he texts in. He says, "Can I just say that Auburn is so quick to criticize quarterbacks and not coaches? Have they forgotten about the mishandling of Bo Nix? The kid dreamed of playing for AU and was ran out only to show what he was capable of at Oregon."
Okay, that has nothing to do with this, but sure. I mean, what if it wasn't the same coaches? So,
Right.
Okay, moving on.
Will
What do you
texts
mean?
in.
I would say
I was
say
told
what
that
happened.
Gus and Hugh are the same coach. That's what I was told. So clearly they must have mishandled Bo.
You need to check your circle, brother.
It just to me, it's just, and also it's another thing. Like, are people criticizing Ryan Day because Joe Burrow walked? Like I don't think you can criticize a place because a guy left and ultimately went on to have success at the next place.
You brought up Kirby and Justin Fields yesterday.
Like, well, I'm just suggesting that
But
sometimes
people did though.
people did, and but it's dependent on the place. Like, nobody criticized Nick Saban when Jalen went to Oklahoma and finished third in the Heisman or second in the Heisman, whatever it was. Like, no, like, because it's like there's some places that just get the benefit of the doubt and some places don't. And I'm not saying it's unfair. I just think we need to evaluate the bigger picture too at the same time.
Will texts in. He says, "Freeze keeps talking about building for the future. Why not play a quarterback that you think may be your long-term starter? Thorne has shown us who he is, and when Auburn wins, it's in spite of him. I would rather go see a freshman go through the growing pains and make mistakes than watch a guy who knows better and make bad throws."
What if you go 4-8?
Also, what if said quarterback has shown who he is in practice?
Yes. And what if said quarterback might be a good player in 2 years, but you put him out there right now?
Done.
See ya.
Why can't the confidence come back, Greg, in
I don't know.
situations like
It's
that?
just, I don't know, dude. Look at DJ Uiagalelei.
That's a great example.
You look at him in 2020 when he spot started those two games against Boston College and Notre Dame, and he was like amazing. Like, amazing. Got hit in the face against Georgia week 1, 2021, and has never been the same. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. I can't. I mean, some guys just can't do it, but it's crazy, man.
All right, we'll get to a break, come back, get more of your feedback, get to our top three on the other side. Damian brings you the top three every single day. First, I'll tell you about my friends at the Gusty Goulas Group. If you're looking for a home in Central Alabama, call 205-542-1996. Better yet, pick up your phone, go to gustygoulasgroup.com. You'll see a button at the top of the page. You can press that button in a couple of minutes with very little information, find out what the value of your home is right now. And Gusty's going to help you get rid of it and help you get into a new home as well. Brokered by eXp Realty, served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers right here in the greater Birmingham area. That's why you need to call Gusty Goulas and the Gusty Goulas Group. Oh, by the way, over 830 5-star Google reviews. So you can Google Gusty Goulas Group or go to gustygoulasgroup.com, find out what they can do for you today. Call 205-542-1996 and start packing. Top three next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Thursday, September 12th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Watch live on YouTube. Search Jocks 945. You can do that. Listen online, jocksfm.com.
Bill Smith Buick.
You're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to. I'm just so excited to tell you about Bill Smith Buick GMC. I will take a false start. I'll start first and 15 because I know I'm still going to get it all back when I go to Bill Smith Buick GMC. We'll probably get it all back on the next play. I don't even need to get half of it back. Make it 2nd and 7. I'm gonna go for the jugular on 1st and 15 because Bill Smith Buick GMC's got my back. They're gonna protect me. Offensive line protects me. They're gonna protect me from spending too much money. You can go up to Bill Smith Buick GMC and you're gonna pay up there significantly less than you're gonna pay anywhere around here. And that goes for people that shop out of town, shop out of state. They've delivered all the way from Denver to Bristol, Connecticut. I've had friends from ESPN that have purchased from Bill Smith, and they've had it delivered right to their driveway. They've had a great experience. I actually had one the other day that was delivered, 1500 GMC Sierra, 4x4 X31 loaded. They got it for $12,750 off the sticker price, nearly 20% off the sticker price. Deals like that to keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. Go take the short drive to Coleman. You can also shop online at BillSmithBuickGMC.com, or you can always know that Bill Smith Buick GMC, they are professional grade.
All right, we get to our top 3 each and every day. Sometimes sports, sometimes not. Damien, what's on tap for our top 3 today?
As we know, September 12th is National Chocolate Milkshake Day.
No one knew that.
Overrated shake flavor.
I don't feel like there's a ton. So I don't know what the ratings are. Vanilla 1, strawberry 1.
Strawberry is fire. But no, like any type of like cookies and cream is
okay.
Numero uno.
All right.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
It's also National Day of Encouragement.
Well, why didn't you tell me that before we started the whole Peyton Thorne conversation? I feel like that would have fit right in there.
We had optimistic Auburn fan call in.
Yeah. So
he lacked optimism, but he did call in.
He can get you back.
Good luck today, guys. You got this.
National Video Game Day as well.
Not sure I'll be getting in front of a console, but we'll give it a go later. Maybe.
We shall see. No Tecmo Bowl?
We might get it out because if it's going to be raining this afternoon, we might not be able to play kickball or baseball.
So it's time to lock in.
Got pegged by the 4-year-old 3 times yesterday, by the way.
Where?
1 in the shoulder, 1 in the knee, 1 in the neck.
Oh, that's not that bad.
He hit a rope. I was like, I'm gonna back up.
You didn't take it in a real sweet spot, so you're all right.
Well, he still hits real baseball, so it's like 7-year-old can't do. I have these little like sandbag baseballs sort of that the 7-year-old hits, so he can't hit them out of our yard.
Yeah.
4-year-old still hits real baseballs, and I got bonked a couple times. Good, yeah. And he laughs when he does it.
Love it.
It's the best part. He thinks it's hilarious. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. But we're gonna keep it on the gridiron today. So far, 2 weeks into the season, who are your top 3 defenses in the SEC?
Oh, right off the top, I think I'm going to go Tennessee 1. Now, statistically, I honestly don't know like where these groups are. I haven't gone to the numbers and done a deep Greg McElroy dive into exactly what the defensive statistics are, but that's one that sticks out to me is just kind of how they've played. Now, keep in mind, what Damien said here was through 2 weeks.
Right.
Who are your top 3 defenses?
Yes, sir.
So I am going to go South Carolina 2. God, the level of competition for Missouri's group's been bad. I can't put them up there.
Don't do it.
Go Georgia 3. Missouri statistically, by the way, does have the best defense in the league, allowing 127 yards per game. Total defense, 127
when
yards
Murray
per
State's
game.
the best team you played.
Hey. They're still going to play a part in the Rubik's Cube in a couple of weeks. I promise you that.
Yeah, I know.
We got a few more
fade
weeks
the Rube Cube when as it relates to Missouri.
Listen,
here.
Jody Wright is going to get that thing going, so just calm down.
At Murray State?
Yes.
That's my boy. I love Jody, but like, come on. Tighten
up.
Missouri has recorded shutouts in the first 2 games of the season for the first time since?
I'm going to say 1984.
Slightly off.
2001.
Slightly off. Say Bear?
1957.
1935.
Woo!
Right before the AP poll started.
Historically significant
Forgot about that.
This is their best defense of the poll era that they have this year, clearly. Because, back in 35.
They've given up 82 passing yards.
Now that's impressive. Again, it's all about who you're playing. But.
Yeah, that does have a lot.
Speaking of passing yards, they need to start.
Kentucky's given up 91 rushing yards.
Considering the level of competition, I've been a little underwhelmed with their passing game, I might add. Missouri. Spent a little time on them yesterday.
By the way, Ole Miss, 54 rushing yards allowed on the year.
Oh!
Best defense all
They
the
said
time.
Pete Golden couldn't do it.
He's doing it.
Against
doing
who?
it and doing it well.
Genst. Against who? Against. All right. Number 1 defense. Georgia.
Okay.
Still have some questions about their secondary. Just saying. Just saying.
Okay.
Not saying they're not good, not saying they're not talented, but I do think you might be able to get to them a little bit in the back end. But we'll see. Best defense number 2. Tennessee. I think NC State stinks. I'm going to be honest with you. I was watching that back the other day.
It was ugly.
It was bad. So I think Tennessee's really good. I do. I think they're excellent. But I think that a lot of, you have to kind of measure out. It's like, all right, well, I think Clemson's going to end up being a good offense. And there was nothing doing.
They were against that.
Meanwhile, I look at NC State, and I think that's the first of many disappointing offensive performances we're going to get from them. Just saying. So I'm going to put Tennessee at 2 for the moment. And then at number 3, I will go with... Gosh, it's so easy to say South Carolina, but they did get got a couple times on big plays against Old Dominion. That's just going to kind of be burned in the back of my head, but I'll go South Carolina.
They're all like...
Well, they had a guy run right by a veteran safety for a touchdown and an empty look. Like they couldn't get to an empty adjustment. It's like, what? Check empty, bud. Like palms, fists of the air. Check empty. Give me your base coverage. Who cares? And you're in right by him. Touchdown. And then on 4th and 7, they gave up a QB draw to the crib.
Yeah, because you're playing 2 threes. I don't know why you just give up the A gaps like that. But
well, you also had a Mike linebacker in there.
Okay.
Plus, the quarterback looked like he was a good teammate. Oh
no, you did not.
What?
Hard worker.
Yeah. I mean, he was out the gate.
Good teammate.
First one in, last one to leave.
Grinder, coach on the field.
That's it.
He did look gritty.
He did.
Not doing.
I'm not kidding when I say this. He
gritty.
was gritty as can be. That cat was getting popped.
Yes.
I mean, look, he put the ball on the deck a couple times. That dude, I want him in my bunker. Like that dude, he don't care.
Despite being a veteran, he was unseasoned. Gotcha.
I don't know why anybody would want to be in the bunker, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know. That ODU quarterback, he might not be super gifted, but I'll take that dude on my team any day of the week. He's a warrior.
Is he like Diego Pavia tough?
He's got some Pavia in him.
Oh.
He's got some Pavia in him for sure.
So Old Dominion going bowling.
Yeah, not super talented, but love that guy.
Exactly. John?
Number 1 is Missouri.
What?
I know. Look, you can
Numbers
say
guy.
You can say it's the competition, but they can't help who it's on the schedule. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of can. They schedule
Handle their business.
But they have yet to allow a point.
Yep.
And you could say, yeah, it's level of competition, but again, okay, let's look at Penn State. They played to a certain level of competition. Other teams have played to a lesser level of competition and have allowed points, and some Notre Dame have lost.
Oh.
So I until they allow a point, it's going to say otherwise. Number 2 is Tennessee. On the flip side of that, they face stiff competition and put it on them. Like it was Russell Rhymes and Janet Jackson. And number 3, I'm going to give it to Georgia.
You guys know how many teams have not allowed a point this year in college football? John, not you.
How many teams not allowed a point in college football?
Correct.
I'm going to say 1. Missouri.
I'm going to say 2.
It's 2.
I don't know who the...
Ohio State?
No.
I have no idea.
Purdue.
Oh, boy.
And Missouri. Those are your 2 teams in college football that have not allowed a point in the entire... Go check your stats. He goes straight to the laptop like I'm wrong.
What's their pressure rate?
I don't care. What's their ADOT? What's their average depth of target? I don't care.
You thought I'm lying about this.
I can't look up who shut people out. That's too deep in the weeds. I can't find that stat.
Missouri and Purdue.
Jay Tate breaks down the situation at Auburn, and it sounds like some big news might be coming soon in the Pac-12. We'll discuss that as well next. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Jocks 94.5. Thursday, September 12th, 8 a.m. Watch live on YouTube. Search Jocks 945. Listen online, jocksfm.com. The app is on your phone. You can watch, listen live, or listen to the podcast there. Damon, before we get to Jay Tate, anything else coming in via the text line?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a thank you for being a sports show and not a political one. Love you guys.
Oh, we are back. In all
Well,
seriousness,
I had to fight Greg in the pre-show meeting yesterday to not start out with a debate.
I think we
segment
start. I think we go debate. I think we go debate recap. I tried to get Richard Dixon to leave his own show.
I
Come
wouldn't
over
do it.
here and break it down.
No calls to Matt Murphy?
He was slept in.
Matt Murphy wanted action.
Dale Jackson said, no thanks, y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Good job.
I did stay up
appreciate
and
you.
watch the debate, but I more often stay up and watch Monday Night Football, among other things, late at night.
Well, that makes one of us.
I will fully
Never
admit
watched the
that
debate.
I have not seen the tape on said debate. So,
Oh, you're good. They didn't bring up anything
Tuesday
about
date
Peyton
night,
Thorne. So.
not debate night.
No.
So, yeah.
Nice.
All right, we will go to the Buyers Right hotline now. Welcome in Jay Tate. He
Madam
covers the
Vice
Auburn
President,
Tigers.
do you think Peyton Thorne should be replaced? Why or why not?
Actually, I would like to hear them debate that.
That would be hilarious.
Yes. Jay, how would you summarize Auburn's current quarterback situation?
Not good. I'm not as down on Peyton as some people are, but man, he was bad in the Cal game, brother. I mean, and he's been this guy. Like, he's kind of a momentum quarterback. When things go bad, they get worse. And it really stuck out in that Cal game, didn't it?
At times. We're kind of like you, though.
Yeah.
We're not as down on him as a lot of other folks are. I mean, 2 of the interceptions, you're taking hits. I'm not going to get mad at a guy for that. You forced one late. So it kind of is what it is. But yes, the consistency has definitely not been there. So after Peyton Thorne, or what potentially could be next, where do you feel like this coaching staff is from that perspective?
Yeah, so it's going to be Hank Brown one way or another. My thought is they're going to go into this game with a plan for if Peyton melts down again, they go straight to Hank. I think they should have gone to him in the last game because there was a point, in my opinion, and Greg knows a lot more about this than I do, where I just think mentally he wasn't there. Like, I think he was just frustrated, or it wasn't necessarily – some people think that, like, when a quarterback goes in that situation, he's just quitting. I didn't think Peyton was quitting at all. I thought he was fighting his butt off. I just think he gets frustrated and he can't really think clearly, and some of the decisions really show that. So I think they should have gone to Hank in the last game. I think this time around, first of all, he's got a short leash, and second of all, I think it would be wise to just go ahead and say, okay, the third drive, we're going to play Hank and just see how he handles it. And if that pisses Peyton off, then stop throwing interceptions.
But what if it is a big bounce back game as far as momentum and as far as confidence is concerned? I mean, he's got to be confident playing the position. To be honest with you, I think there's a lot of things that he's better at this year, albeit small sample size, than he was last year. Like, there are throws that he made in the game last weekend that he would have never tried last year. And to be honest with you, I think he's a better player than he was at any point last year, even though the interceptions clearly were somewhat problematic. How good is Hank Brown? I guess first and foremost, like, is he that good?
I don't think so. I haven't seen enough of him to really form a seriously well-rounded opinion on him, but the scouting reports that I've always gotten on him is that he's a tough kid mentally. He's got a good arm. He's just painfully slow. Like, he's not a guy that's ever going to run. And Peyton is a good runner. I mean, he's actually surprised me with how good he's been. Yeah. I don't think you'll ever be surprised by Hank in a positive way with the way he runs the football. So he's kind of immobile, and I don't think he moves around well. You don't have to be a fast guy to be a mobile quarterback, just in the sense of eluding pressure and getting the ball off. I don't think he's even all that great at that. But administratively, I think he's fine, and I do think he has a nice arm. It's just, can he move around confidently in the pocket? That's been his problem.
No, you don't have to go too far back for that. Jay Tate with us in the Buyers Right hotline. Stidham was great, kind of manipulating things when they broke down and pulling his own read every now and then, and he probably ran like a 6.2 40. So, I mean, you're right. You don't have to be super fast to be able to break defenses down and take advantage of that. I would love to get your opinion on some of the comments that Coach Freeze has made this week. I feel like some very different early in the week than later in the week. This is my opinion, Jay, but it felt like it was going to be sort of a full defense early, and now it feels like it's a lot more open to maybe things changing and being different. How have you seen and heard the things that have come from Coach Freeze this week?
I just feel like he was heartbroken by the things that Peyton was doing wrong in that game the other day. And first of all, I agree with Greg. he made some throws in that game, the Cal game, particularly in that first drive, that he would never have made last year. I mean, that nice floaty deep ball to Cam Coleman that was caught down the left sideline. No way he makes that. He didn't even attempt that throw last year, much less complete it. So, yeah, I agree. There were some positive things, but obviously Freeze was like heartbroken with some of the things that were going on in the second and third quarter, and then he just got outraged in the fourth quarter. But he was a tough one for me to figure out. I wish I had known him 10 years ago and I could compare him to the guy he is now, because I find him odd as someone who just kind of met him a couple years ago and paid attention to him only peripherally prior to that. He just seems like a guy who gets just broken down too easily. Like, not that he's a soft person or anything, but the word I like to use is heartbroken. He just looks heartbroken out there sometimes. And I'm used to coaches being like Tuberville was, or like Muschamp or DJ Durkin, where they just get fiery, And he does get fiery, but he also gets kind of sullen looking, and he gets that far away look in his eye, and I don't really know how to interpret that. So I think he kind of is all over the map sometimes when it comes to Peyton. He feels like he should be really well drilled and make the right decision 95% of the time, and when it goes down to 50%, Hugh just looks up to the skies and says, "What's going wrong?"
What do you make of some of the other things that are, well, one, that's interesting perspective. Like I'd never really thought of it that way, but I think he is obviously super disappointed. I still think there's a fire in there for sure. How do you kind of get things back on track? Because the thing that blows my mind about this, Jay, and it's frustrating, Auburn, I think the best indicator of a program is consistency. That to me is, and I don't care if it's consistent. To me, I think Kentucky's got a phenomenal program. Why? Because every year consistently, there's 6, 7, 8 wins every year. Like, they're consistent. They know who they are. They're consistent as the day is long. Auburn, I get the sense sometimes where they want to peak, and if they have some valleys along the way, who cares? But they want to give Georgia all they want. They want to give Bam all they want. They want to win big games. And if they lose a game or two against teams they shouldn't lose to, then so be it. What does this program want to be?
I think it wants to challenge all the time, up to the top. I think Auburn has done that for a long period of time now. They're in kind of a funk at this point. I mean, if they keep playing like this, it'd be a losing season, I would think. And Auburn having 3 losing seasons in a row is, to me, unfathomable. Auburn people live for the peaks and valleys, like you said. That's a good observation. And they're ready for a peak. It's been a while. I think 17 is the last time people were genuinely fired up about what was going on. And you know how that season ended up. Carry-on broke down, and that was a wrap. So, and it's just getting crushed by Georgia all the time is not good enough. So, and I don't think it's going to change this year. So I think maybe we should just chill out again this year, hope for a winning season, and just try to get it going for next year, get a better portal quarterback, maybe get Deuce Knight to come in there and have a season to get ready and be better 1 year later. I just think they're in a tight spot at quarterback. And in this league, when you don't have a good option at quarterback, or a really good one, I think you fall behind because, I mean, Georgia's got Carson Beck. Alabama's got Jalen Milroe. I mean, there's good ones out there, and I just don't know if Peyton matches up, and I know Hank doesn't.
All right, so Jay Tate with us, covers Auburn, has for a long time, one of the best to do it. What about the other responsibility offensively? It seems like there's very little discussion about some of the letdowns at other positions.
Specifically, tackle is one spot that I think about a lot and I talk about a lot, and I don't necessarily hear as much about it. I mean, they were basically flatline at left tackle in the last game. And right tackle, they were below average, but then Tall got hurt. They went to Ronan Chambers, and he was a little below average. So I don't like the options they have at left tackle. And I thought when they brought in Percy Lewis from Mississippi State, they were trying to put a Superman cape on that dude, and he hadn't been that guy at Mississippi State, and I didn't understand why they thought they had found this, great left tackle, and he can't even really get the spot held down. So that's a good point, Cole. You got questions at quarterback, but at least you thought you had a solution at Peyton Thorne, and he's solid in some ways. But at tackle, I just don't even really see the plan there. I mean, they've recruited better, but it was really bad before that. That's a huge problem. I think they're good at tailback. I like their center a lot. I think the guard play has been pretty good. Wideouts have been good. Tight ends have been good. But, man, when you have weakness at tackle, dude, it really, really hurts.
Yeah, brutal. I mean, it was awful to watch.
Hold on one second, Jay. Also, why not more Jarquez Hunter?
Well, I don't think they ran the ball enough. I mean,
that's my point, though. If he's arguably your best player, maybe most proven player. I'm not saying he's overall most talented, but 13 touches last week, and I know that the possessions were a little bit compressed, and you had to
56 offensive snaps.
Okay, but you were forcing things late because you were trailing, but still, there weren't many times that he wasn't going when they did give him the ball. Almost the same thing for the first game too. Like Greg has this theory that certain teams are trying to save their backs for later in the year. I'm not sure what Auburn will be saving them for. There's not going to be multiple postseason games, so ride the guy. I just can't understand it.
I did a play diagram yesterday on the site at auburnsports.com about some really cool stuff they were doing in the run game to open the second half. And they were having success with that. I mean, they were riding Jarquez. They were running like some TE fold stuff out of what I call a 40 formation or a double tight end formation, like a wing formation. I thought it was really cool. They did some stuff where they used the same formation, ran some gap out of it, ran some zone out of it. Cal was having a hard time just kind of filling the holes and fitting the run. I don't understand why they got away from that. They got out to midfield and they started getting a little too enterprising with the passing game. They really thought they could win every one-on-one matchup across the board. And I think they may have been able to do that at wide receiver, first time in a while. But, Peyton wasn't in my headspace to make good on that ability. So they had to stick with the run, Cole, I think. They had to reestablish it going into that second half. They started to do it. It started to pay off dividends, and then they got away from it. And to me, that's a coaching thing. That's not a player thing.
Lastly, just kind of looking at what's coming up for Auburn. I think a win against Georgia, a win against Alabama on the road feels like a bridge too far. No disrespect. I just don't envision that happening. Not this year. Wouldn't be surprised if they made those games competitive. That's fine. But what are the games that you think absolutely, positively must be won to salvage the goodwill that Hugh Freeze has already built up with what he's done in recruiting, to make fans feel like, all right, this is not the end of the world. We're still going to be okay here in the long term. What are the games they absolutely have to win?
Well, they got to do well at home. I mean, they're going to have to win this Arkansas game coming up. They're going to have to, the Vanderbilt game. I know Vanderbilt's playing some better football. I mean, they're going to have to, people expect to crush Vanderbilt, particularly inside Jordan Hare. I think he's got to do well at home. And I honestly think that a good number of Auburn folks would think that they should beat Oklahoma, or at least have it be a really close game. They got to win at home. And this Arkansas game coming up, like Arkansas played great at Oklahoma State last week. I don't know how they managed to lose that game. They're better than I thought they were. And I think they come in here and Auburn fans assume things are going to go well. And I don't know. And I wonder at some point, I mean, we're still pretty early in the Freeze tenure. And I wonder sometimes if he's just a couple losses away from people kind of giving up on him a little bit. And it's shocking because he's recruited so well. And he's a fairly likable guy, I think, now that you've seen what he's like after coming. He did his time at Liberty, did his penance. He's kind of been back. He's been pretty humble. This week, like Cole was pointing out, he said some stuff that's a little odd later in the week, but I don't know. I mean, I think Auburn people want to get behind him, and his recruiting's been terrific, but he needs to win at home, man. I don't think anyone's expecting him to beat Georgia and Alabama, like you said, Greg, but I think these other games, they got to either win it or be really, really close.
Yeah, it's year two. I think people want it to work and see all the other outside portions of it that are working and seem to be in line, but you got to get some wins at some point. Quickly, Jay, before we let you go, just sort of your 1,000-foot view of the Auburn defense. I'm interested just kind of what you see, what you hear, and maybe what you like or don't like so far under DJ Durkin.
Better than I expected. Honestly, I thought they would be mid, and they've been a little better than that. I love the aggression. I do think DJ Durkin has changed the culture totally from one year to another. I see a lot more joy, a lot more extra effort. The rotation at the defensive line, I didn't necessarily think I saw studs there before the season started, and it was kind of like, well, they don't have them, but they have a lot of guys, and so they'll rotate and be fresh. I think the rotations worked out really well, and I think it's hidden, to this point, some shortcomings, I think, along the defensive front. So they've been better than expected for me there. Linebackers, I expected them to be pretty good, and they've been pretty good. The secondary defensive backfield, Coleman, they're one injury away from like me and you playing basically. So it's kind of patchwork back there. Without Keontae, he's been hurt. He's got a hamstring problem. I don't understand why he can't play secondary, but he can return punts. I don't understand the differentiation. And I also think he's a nickelback and not an outside corner. So there's a lot of questions on the back end, brother, that I think are going to get exposed when you start facing really good quarterbacks like Carson Beck and like Jalen Milroe. But that's down the road, I guess.
There you go. Jay Tate, the Auburn Rival site. Find his work at auburnsports.com, at JG Tate on Twitter. Jay, thanks for the time today. Great stuff, man.
Thank you, guys.
There you go. Jay Tate does a great job covering Auburn football. Been doing it for a long time, understands a lot of the ins and outs, and some interesting thoughts there just kind of on how he sees things, where things are. And you know, we've spent a lot of time on it. We'll see what happens this weekend. It should be a good day for the Auburn offense. As we said, they're playing the worst defense in college football. The worst, statistically. I have not studied
but let's
some
keep
down there
things
around them.
Like,
to
can
say
we
that,
just keep things in perspective a little bit? Like, I swear, after hearing, some of my buddies with the Alabama A&M game, it's like, oh my God, we are going to be the number one offense in the country. Like, let's keep things in perspective a little bit. Like, progress, decisiveness, improved at tight end. Welcomed sight, but let's just keep flabbergasted by last week's completely out of whack after the week 1 game against worst programs in the country.
You're wrong. You're wrong about that. That started about March-ish, April-ish.
Sometime in spring, yeah.
No, because after the season, we had some very fair conversations about what Auburn might be. And then it felt like once we got towards the end of basketball season, we were sitting here like,
I still like it.
Hold on, guys. Yes, above 8 would be amazing. Like,
still gettable. I still thought it, but I didn't think that it was going to be because their offense is going to be a top 10 offense.
No, we both thought 7,
they added
maybe
some freshman
8.
Wide receivers.
Right. We thought they were going to be better than expected.
100%.
But then all of a sudden the expected started going to 9. I don't know. Hold on a second.
A little out fringe playoff.
Well, I actually think that started before the Alabama A&M game, and then that got even more people on board with it, and now it's
after A&M. See, told you.
Yeah. Well, we will see. You will see new teams in the Pac-12. Sutton, I see you on hold. We'll get you on the other side if we want. But when we come back, we got to talk about the Pac-12 being a little bit different. First, we'll tell you about Wayne's. I know it's not cold now. By the way, if you were walking around last night, it felt magical.
You liked it?
It was really nice outside last night. Yeah, it almost like actually felt like fall. But then I thought, there's a tropical storm coming up through the state, so that probably has a lot to do with it as well. We're not there yet. But if you need to get your yard ready for the dormant months, for the cold season, Wayne's can help you do that. And that's important because next spring, if you want your yard to be the envy of your neighborhood, you need to start protecting it now. Greg and Wayne's can help with that.
Yeah, and before these things go dormant, you need the pre-emergent set. You need to make sure that the cold season, when it comes through, you want all those things, the pre-emergent, the nutrients, all that stuff set in the lawn before that dormant season comes, because in the spring, it'll immediately pop into that beautiful weed-free lawn. Sign up for Wayne's Lawn Service today, and you'll receive that first month free. Call now at 866-WAYNES1. Use the offer code JOCKS. You can also go online at callwaynes.com. Offer code JOCKS and let Wayne's continue to create your happy place.
Folks, the Pac-12 is back.
Yes.
Well, half of it. We'll tell you how and who next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. The Pac-12 is expanding. Get to that here in just a moment. 800-239-9569 if you want to get into the show. 8:23 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Great conversation with Jay Tate involving this Auburn football program, kind of state of the union where some things are with Jay. We got Wimp Sanderson at 9. Roddy Jones previews a massive under-the-radar ACC SEC matchup this weekend, which nobody even knows about. Nobody even talking about it.
ACC, SEC? If it's Boston College, Missouri, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Get on up.
Nobody knows about it. It's the only ranked matchup of the weekend.
People who have asked us about it on the show this week?
No, I'm not saying that people care about it. I'm just saying you said people know about it. Know about it and care about it, two different things. Wow. Plus, you got the Peter Burns lead in.
Awesome. I'm just telling you that not many people are aware that a ranked Boston College team is playing at Missouri this weekend. And even if they were, I don't think that they view it as having a chance of being competitive.
I was told Billy O'Brien can't coach. I was told Bill O'Brien is a terrible coach. That's what I was told.
Who told you that?
That's what I was told.
You took those phone calls, Damien?
That is true.
Yeah, Damien was the one that was.
Nah, nope. I said
I was told
it's hard to be a bad coach and average of 40.
I was told he's awful.
I've heard.
It's just what I was told. He's been there for 2 games. He got Boston College top 25.
Boom.
And he's going to beat Missouri this week.
Who's in the most trouble this weekend? Possibly. Bama with Wisconsin. Missouri with Boston College. Oklahoma with Tulane. Arkansas with UAB. Ole Miss with Wake.
LSU.
Well, that's a conference game.
All right.
I would give you Vandy at Georgia State.
Nah. New Vandy team.
This ain't an offensive line. It's an offensive line coach Georgia State team. This is Del McGee.
I'm not going to go New Mexico and Auburn. Actually, Toledo hasn't looked great this year, so I think State has a chance to win that game.
There we go.
Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I hope so.
If this was last year, I would say I don't think they do.
My God.
If Daquan Finn was back at quarterback, I'd be like, I actually don't think they can win that game.
Toledo's offense on the watch list?
Do you know who Houston's offensive coordinator is, by the way?
Major Applewhite.
Kevin Barbie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know Major's the head coach of South, by the way. So those of you that are going to tweet in the show, like, he's at South. I know.
From a very realistic standpoint, though, like we're not worried about Wake and Ole Miss at Wake, are we? Like that's not.
Hank Bachmeier.
It is supposed to rain, though, which could be a little problematic for Jackson Dart going 30 for 30.
Hank Shiner Bachmeier.
I'm talking about an ESPN documentary, like actually completing 30 straight passes. Shohei about to go 50-50, by the way. You realize that, right?
He's at 47. We're not there yet.
Okay, but no one's ever done that. So
yeah, but when he gets to 50, I'll celebrate it.
I said about to. I didn't say he was there.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying, are you ready for it? Are you prepared? Like this is going to be massive if he can do this. Something no individual's ever done.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous.
It's insane. Okay, Bama, Wisconsin, Missouri, BC, Oklahoma, Tulane, and I'm going to stop there. Who is in the most danger this weekend?
Missouri. BC is the most capable, I think. Like, I'm not yet sold on Wisconsin's offense. Like, I think you need great weapons to run that offense at a high level. And I don't think they can run it, like, right up.
I will say, I do appreciate the commitment to unpopulate the box, spread things out, and have a north-south run game.
I'm great with that.
Because Phil will still line you up in 4 or 5 wide. Well, you can't do it in 5 wide, but maybe he'll run some quarterback inside zone. But he'll spread you out and run inside zone.
I thought it was only quarterback power.
He doesn't. That's the only thing quarterbacks run.
That's the only thing quarterbacks run is
every
quarterback
time they
power.
run the ball. It's quarterback power.
Here's QB power.
I do appreciate that, and they'll do it. And they have a couple different ways that they'll clamp the center every now and then. They'll do some different things, but they're not going to outman Alabama like that. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So BC,
I don't like the matchup for Wisconsin personally. I think BC can match up, especially if the passing attack for Missouri on the downfield throws continues to be a little bit suspect.
Suspect?
Have you seen
I've seen a couple completions too, though.
There's been a couple, but I would tell you that I don't think the passing game.
The status of Luther Burden, I think, is important.
I don't think the passing game right now is operating at full capacity at Missouri right now.
All right, here's the thing. I'm not backing off this.
Oh, boy.
I think Missouri's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Boston College has a couple good players, and I think they got a guy dialing some things up that's really good at what he does.
The coach?
Yes.
Wait, Bill O'Brien's good?
I wasn't the one that said that.
You
don't put the collars on me, okay?
I was told Bill O'Brien stinks.
That was when he was at Alabama, Greg.
I was told he's terrible.
Did he have a quarterback win a Heisman?
Yes.
Okay.
I was told Lincoln Riley's terrible too.
Stop. Defensively.
I've been told.
We haven't seen Bill call defense yet. So
Brian Daboll was great, though, because he's one professional and has done stellar things.
It's not his fault.
He runs Daboll.
He didn't hear, and look what happened.
That was bad. That was really bad. Damian, is it Missouri, Oklahoma, or Bama?
It's Missouri.
John?
Yeah, Missouri.
Okay.
The real answer is Oklahoma.
That's what I thought.
But I think Tulane woke everybody up last week, and we were on them for the record. And I think when you look at kind of where things are with Oklahoma, until they start figuring out how to block, I don't feel great about them. I don't think Tulane's going to score. That offense is a little bit.
It's not quite the same.
It's not the same. It's a little bit kind of, feast or famine, which is fine. It's a fine offense, and they'll score also know against teams in their league.
John does not mind winning games different ways,
which is fine. But the offense is a work in progress, and I don't think Oklahoma's defense is going to allow anything. Like, if Tulane wins the game, it's going to have to be 14-10. Like
Tulane may be able to count on a couple personal fouls.
Might. But I think that's the toughest matchup.
I think that's going to be a tough matchup, and I also I think Tulane's going to have a hard time moving the football.
I don't think they're going to move the football at all. So, I do think, though, that BC is going to be able to move it. Like BC, with their gap scheme, if you try to get too aggressive defensively and you start shooting gaps and stuff like that, they're gonna gash you.
And then they're gonna hit duo backside. I watched the Florida State film yesterday.
I'm telling you, it's good.
Oh, buddy.
They're tough.
They're not the most athletic or
but they're
like
tough
most
as
fundamentally
nails.
sound offensive line, but they get after you and look how big. They are big. They're not look how that big, but they are big. Like, they're pretty physical.
I like them.
And
I like that quarterback. Like, he's come on a lot. Like, he can throw it down the field. Like, they got good play action game. Like,
that's what gets you is some of the read plays and then the play action game, the throwbacks, and they hit a lot of their runs backside intentionally, I think, because they know you're going to over pursue some stuff and like builds formation in you to death. Like, they got a good back.
I'm telling you, I do not like the matchup for Missouri. Like, I don't like the matchup for Missouri.
Here's
at all.
the problem, though, Greg. Like, Missouri's D-line is still disruptive. So I think they can be disruptive enough. The linebackers can go. The safeties can go.
That's
and they're not
a problem.
afraid to hit. Okay, but they
That's
also
why
can.
I think that they will over pursue and they're going to give up some plays. Now, I think Missouri will be able to score.
I think so, too. I don't think that defense is very athletic.
No, I think the defense is very human. I think they're tough and they play hard, and like you're going to get a good effort out of them. But I don't feel like the defense is anything to write home. So I think Missouri's going to score, and ultimately I think they'll score too many. But I'd be surprised if BC doesn't get theirs offensively too.
No, Thomas Castellanos has got it going right now.
He's a good player.
He can work the play actions. He's a good distributor of the football. It should be a fun game to watch. It's a different game than what we thought it was going to be going into the season. So Sutton's been patient on hold, listening in College Station. Want to let him in. Sutton, what's on your mind today?
Hey, guys. Heading to Gainesville from College Station today. And
are you driving?
Yeah. Do a little windshield time.
Okay, what is when you originally hit the ways on that, like from your driveway, what is the duration time on that?
It's 11 hours.
That's all? I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
No big deal.
Question for you both. First, Mac, do you expect to see Connor Wigman of the Miami game last year or the Notre Dame game this year? and Cole on the offensive line that's a ton better than last year, light years better than last year. Do you see them making that next step and being able to run the ball against the Gators on Saturday, which I think is the key to the game?
Okay, before we get to that, Sutton, I have to just I Googled this. According to Google Maps, College Station, Texas to Gainesville, Florida, 14 hours and 15 minutes. So, like, are you on a bullet train or?
I'm not going direct. I'm actually going to Birmingham tonight.
Layover in Birmingham?
And then going over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 11 today and then 3.5 tomorrow.
No, I've got 9 hours left today, and then it's like 9 hours tomorrow. So it's like total of 18.
Gotcha. Wow.
About it.
I feel like Southwest, the official airline of the SEC, could have helped you with something there a little bit, maybe. But with the way travel's gone for me the first 2 weeks, I don't blame you. Greg, Connor Wigman, go.
I still like Connor Wigman. I do think he is a guy that is dependent on those around him playing well. And I think that when we start to lose sight of who's an elite player and who's not, you can be a good player, but it still needs to go and still needs everyone around you to play well. The elite players are the ones that say, all right, everyone else is playing terrible. I'm taking the team on my back and we're just going to go. And to be honest with you, I think Wigman is that guy. Like, I think he's a guy that needs his receivers to play well. He needs the protection to hold up. He needs the run game to get going a bit for him to be in a good spot. Hey, look, last week, good bounce back, right? McNeese, good bounce back. Here's the problem with Florida, though. We're going to talk about Wigman till, we're blue in the face because that's what moves the needle. You better learn how to stop the run. On a couple. What was the difference in the Notre Dame could get the run game going, rush the passer, and be super disruptive. You realize that A&M's defense in rush defense,
they also moved.
Problem.
But you're calling that. I mean,
problem. So, and guess what?
In rush defense.
Ooh. Anytime you are triple dig in rankings, you got problems. Triple dig rushing defense is one of the worst stats you can possibly have. So that is of concern. And yeah, you had some guys calling out. You got some guys moving out of gaps and stuff. That's fine. But what do you think Billy's going to do? They're going to be as committed to the run as anyone you play all year.
With now a quarterback who can run it more often as well. At times. Some. Occasionally. Maybe. All right, Sutton. Good luck, man. Stay awake.
Thanks, guys.
All right. From the offensive line standpoint, that, by the way, you mentioned triple dig. Notre Dame, triple digits rush defense.
Triple dig.
101st. Kent State, 116th.
Oh, boy.